What's up everybody, this is Master Ian Gamer, and with the 2018 Archives event growing ever closer, now is the perfect time to start discussing the possible archived missions that we could be seeing in the form of a new PvE game mode. While we've already gotten some significant clues indicating that it'll be revolving around Blackwatch, and more than likely it will be something completely brand new, there are already a number of canon incidents and historical events within the Overwatch universe that could work as well. So even if they aren't necessarily going to happen, let's take a look at my top 5 possible new PvE story missions. Coming in at number 5, we have the Battle for Eichenwald. Set in the small town of the same name, this is where Reinhardt, Baldrich, and the other German crusaders held their last stand against an Omnic attack. Based on the action we've seen take place here in both the Honor and Glory and Last Bastion animated shorts, I think we can all agree that it has potential for some great gameplay. However, the reason I've only placed it at number 5 on this list is that, as I'm sure we all know, the Battle for Eichenwald kinda already exists as a PvE game mode. The Halloween Terror event, Junkenstein's Revenge, takes place at the castle's gates, so making it also the setting for a mission-based PvE, like what we got on King's Row last year, would feel a bit redundant. On top of that, casting it as the setting for a story mission would feel even less exciting simply because of how much we already know about the battle that took place here. As I said, it's been featured in 2 separate animated shorts, and we know even more about the battle from the details scattered around the map itself. While this was undoubtedly a significant event in the Overwatch timeline, there really isn't much more to be said or shown off about it. Additionally, if they wanted to keep the event canonically accurate, then Reinhardt would be the only playable hero. Perhaps all 4 players would play Reinhardt, each with different skins to represent different crusaders, but overall, I think this would make for some bland gameplay. So with Eichenwald's better days behind us, let's move on to the other possible events on this list. Coming in at number 4, we have Operation White Dome. The only mention we've gotten so far of this operation is this single image from Brigitte's build-up teasers. From it, we know that the mission consisted of at least Anna, Reinhardt, Torbjorn, and the previously unheard of Private First Class Emre Sarıoğlu. The mission itself was set in the outskirts of Istanbul, Turkey, meaning that, if nothing else, then this mission could offer a brand new location to play in. Given that the report mentions the team as dealing with a remaining pocket of Omnic resistance, we can assume that this mission took place near or at the end of the Omnic crisis itself. Overall, the mission sounds quite a lot like the King's Row Uprising that we got to play last year, and I think this both supports and detracts from the possibility of this being a future playable mission. On the one hand, Blizzard could likely reuse many of the assets from last year's PvE, since there's a good chance that the enemies you would encounter, as well as the overall progression through the level, would be quite similar. However, this also means that 2018's PvE mode would be basically a reskin of what we got in 2017, which hopefully won't be the case. Also, the fact that it would almost definitely require a completely new map makes it even less likely, since unless Blizzard was planning to somehow recycle this new map after the event ends, I don't think they would put that much effort and time into developing it. While the mission itself sounds interesting and could be a great way to learn more about Overwatch's original members, as well as the strange unknown character Emre, it's most likely one that we won't see actually become playable, at least not in the immediate future. Moving on now to number 3, we have the Australian Outback Uprising. After the Omnic crisis, in an effort to make peace with the Omnics, the Australian government gifted them the nation's Omnium and the surrounding lands as a sign of peace. However, the many human Outback residents who were displaced by this banded together into the Australian Liberation Front, an insurrection group determined to reclaim their home. In their efforts to take back the land, they ended up sabotaging the Omnium fusion core, resulting in a devastating explosion that both destroyed the facility and irradiated the entire region. As for the actual playable game mode, we'd most likely be playing as the rebel group on their mission to destroy the Omnium. This could mean progressing through the Omnium facility and likely fighting security Omnics in an effort to successfully reach the fusion core. This again could possibly let the developers get away with reusing many of the old AI mechanics we had last year, but this time be featured in a much fresher and more unique setting. And speaking of which, the Junkertown map could even be reused for this mode. Given that it's built on the remains of the original Omnium, I could see them pulling off a reskin of it, much like the one King's Row underwent last year, to make it appear less like a post-apocalyptic city and more like an advanced robotics facility. However, the real issue we'd face with this PvE mission is the hero selection. There are only 2 Junkers on the hero roster, and out of them, Roadhog is the only one we actually know was a part of the original rebellion. Canonically, it just wouldn't fit, and thus the only way it could ever work would be to play out some kind of Junkenstein's Revenge non-canon mission. But even that is most likely just wishful thinking. It'd make for a cool game mode and expand more on one of the game's lesser known factions, but overall, it's just one that likely won't ever see the light of day, at least not in a 4-player PvE. But moving on now to number 2, we have the Venice Incident. This mysterious past event has very little known about it currently, and is only mentioned once briefly in Moira's bio. The incident, whatever it was, exposed her association with Blackwatch, thus causing many high-ranking Overwatch officials to disavow all knowledge or affiliation with her, and quite possibly served as a catalyst for the eventual downfall of the Overwatch organization as a whole. Given that we know Talon has a base of operations in Venice, it's quite possible that they played into this incident in one way or another. Given how little we know about it, we can really only speculate about what a PvE mission based around this would include. If this really was the work of Talon, then perhaps we would be playing as Talon heroes with the objective of carrying out some nefarious scheme, maybe to sabotage Overwatch in some way. It's also entirely possible that this incident was some kind of botched Blackwatch mission. Given that Moira was a part of them at that time, perhaps she and the other Blackwatch agents were conducting something suspicious in the city of Venice, and their presence somehow became exposed. Regardless of which faction the event will be focusing on, the reason I've placed the Venice incident at number 2 on the list is because of the potential for it to reveal more about these lesser known, darker factions, and also that it likely holds heavy significance in the overall story of Overwatch. Learning more about what happened here could tell us more about Moira's past, or even Talon's motives as a whole. And of course, making this story exposition playable in the form of PvE would be a great way to make it feel deeply rooted in both the story and game itself. But moving on now finally to the number 1 possible mission on my list, we have the Swiss HQ Confrontation, standing as perhaps one of the most crucial events in the entire Overwatch timeline. This marked the inevitability of Overwatch's downfall. After years of accusations of corruption and criminal activity regarding Overwatch, and especially their undercover Blackwatch division, the festering differences between Overwatch head Jack Morrison and Blackwatch head Gabriel Reyes culminates in a final confrontation between the two and their respective allies. Somehow, this conflict results in a massive explosion, which destroys the Overwatch headquarters and supposedly killed both Reyes and Morrison. We of course know that they in fact survived, but there is still a lot we don't know regarding how this explosion occurred, or what exactly were the events and causes leading up to it. And of course, it could make for an awesome PvE experience. Depending on how Blizzard decides to spin it, I could see us playing as either Blackwatch or Overwatch, each on their own mission to combat the other. If you played as Overwatch, you could play as any number of the period-appropriate Overwatch heroes to try and fight off Reyes and his army of Talon-backed defectors, in an effort to save the HQ from being destroyed. Or if you played as Blackwatch, you would play as Reaper, Moira, and possibly the other original Blackwatch members as you progress through the HQ, fighting off Overwatch security personnel with perhaps the specific objective of destroying the facility. Or in what would possibly be the best case scenario, both sides would be available to play, thus resulting in a dual-sided PvE mode. Maybe each side would end in a boss fight against either Reyes or Morrison, which in and of itself, I think has a lot of cool potential. Now, I will say that this is awfully grandiose, and I really don't think we'll end up seeing something like this for just a limited limited time event, at least not anytime soon. The last thing I want to do is set everyone's expectations unrealistically high, so just keep in mind that this is all wishful thinking, and I don't really expect us to get a PvE mode nearly this spectacular at this point in time. As cool as it would be, I think Blizzard should definitely pace themselves if they ever want to bring something this big into the game. Additionally, it would require them to make an entirely brand new map for the mission, so yeah, as much as I would love to play this, I don't think we'll be seeing it anytime soon. And besides, as I said in the beginning, we'll most likely be getting a completely brand new story mission that we've never even heard of before, so that in and of itself is super exciting to look forward to. And there you have it. These have been my top 5 story missions that I'd like to see be playable in-game. Are they wishful and unrealistic? Probably. Nonetheless, I think they'd make for some cool PvE experiences. But these were just my ideas. If you disagree with my order, or have your own mission ideas that I didn't even mention, then be sure to leave those down in the comments below. Don't forget to vote in today's poll card, and otherwise, be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and turn on notifications to keep up with all my future Overwatch content. This is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.